He wrote to her every month, for years. She received the last letter, long after he was gone. This is the story of Elias and Clara, a love story that unfolded through letters, bridging the distance between a small town called Riverbend and the bustling city. It's a story about promises, time, and a love that even death couldn't silence. Our story begins in the spring of 1952. Elias Vance was a young man with calloused hands and a heart full of dreams, living in the quiet, picturesque town of Riverbend. The town was nestled by a winding river, surrounded by whispering woods and rolling hills. It was the kind of place where everyone knew each other, and life moved at the gentle pace of the seasons. Elias loved his home, but he also dreamed of a world beyond the town limits. Clara May was a city girl, vibrant and full of life, who came to Riverbend one summer to visit her aunt. The moment Elias saw her, standing by the old stone bridge, her laughter carried by the breeze, he was captivated. They spent that summer exploring every corner of Riverbend. They hiked through the woods, had picnics by the river, and danced under the stars at the town's summer festival. It was a whirlwind romance, the kind you read about in books. But summers always end. Clara had to return to the city to continue her studies at the university. On her last day, they stood at the train station, the air thick with unspoken words. Elias held her hands and made a promise. "I'll write to you, Clara," he said, his voice earnest. "Every month. I'll send you a piece of Riverbend so you never feel too far away." Clara, with tears in her eyes, promised to write back. And so, the letters began. The first one arrived a week after she left. Elias wrote about the changing leaves, the scent of pine in the air, and how the river seemed a little quieter without her laughter echoing across it. He enclosed a pressed autumn leaf, its fiery red, a testament to the beauty he described. Clara wrote back, her letters filled with tales of city life, the endless noise, the towering buildings, and how much she missed the tranquility of Riverbend. For years, their love story was written on paper. Elias's letters were a portal to his world. He described the first snowfall, how the entire town was blanketed in a pristine white sheet. He wrote about helping his neighbor fix a roof, the satisfaction of a day's hard work. He told her about the birth of new lambs on the farm and the town's annual fair. Each letter was a snapshot of his life, filled with his love for her and his home. Clara's letters were her anchor. Amidst the chaos of her demanding studies and the fast pace of city life, Elias's words were a breath of fresh air. She'd read them in her small apartment, the scent of ink and paper transporting her back to the riverbank in Riverbend. She kept every single letter, tied together with a silk ribbon, in a wooden box he had carved for her. They saw each other whenever they could, but life had a way of pulling them in different directions. Clara graduated and started a career. Elias took over his family's small woodworking shop, his hands crafting beautiful furniture from the very trees he wrote about. The years passed, and their stack of letters grew taller. Their love deepened with each word exchanged, a quiet, steadfast bond that withstood time and distance. Elias never missed a month, even when times were tough, when the harvest was poor, or when he was sick with the flu. A letter from Riverbend would always find its way to Clara's mailbox. They were her constant, her proof that somewhere a man loved her with a consistency as reliable as the turning of the seasons. Then, one day, the letters stopped. A month went by, then two. Clara grew worried. She wrote to him, her letters filled with anxious questions. She called the only phone in Riverbend's general store, but the line was always busy, or no one answered. A cold fear started to creep into her heart. She knew something was wrong. Elias would never just stop writing. Finally, a letter arrived, but the handwriting on the envelope wasn't Elias's familiar, steady as script. It was a shaky, unfamiliar hand. Her heart pounded as she tore it open. It was from Elias's neighbor, Martha. The letter was short and to the point. Elias had passed away. A sudden illness had taken him quickly. He had been working on a new rocking chair, Martha wrote, and had simply collapsed. Clara's world shattered. The man who had been her constant for over a decade was gone. The letters, her connection to him, were severed. The silence from Riverbend was deafening. Grief was a heavy cloak she couldn't shrug off. The city felt colder, grayer, and lonelier than ever before. For months, she walked through life in a haze, the wooden box of letters a painful reminder of what she had lost. She decided she had to go back to Riverbend. She needed to say a final goodbye. She took a train, the same one she had taken all those years ago. The town looked just as she remembered, timeless and serene. The river still flowed, the woods still whispered, but everything felt different without Elias. She visited his grave, a simple stone under a large oak tree. She spent hours there, talking to him, reading some of his old letters aloud, her voice breaking with every word. She then went to his workshop. It was just as he'd left it, covered in a thin layer of sawdust. The unfinished rocking chair stood in the center, a silent monument to a life cut short. As she was about to leave, she noticed a small, sealed envelope on his workbench. Her name was written on it, in his unmistakable handwriting. Her breath caught in her throat. It was dated a day before he passed away. With trembling hands, she opened Italiano. The letter began like all the others. "My dearest Clara," it read. He wrote about the unusually warm weather for that time of year, about a stubborn owl that had taken up residence in his barn. He told her he was working on a special project, a rocking chair, just for her. He imagined her sitting in it on her balcony, reading a book, with the city lights twinkling below. But then, the tone of the letter changed. "Clara," he wrote, "I've been feeling a bit off lately. A strange tiredness I can't seem to shake. It's probably nothing, just working too hard. But it got me thinking. It got me thinking about all the things I still want to say to you." He continued, his words a torrent of love and memories. He recalled their first meeting by the bridge, the taste of the wild strawberries they picked, the sound of her laughter. He wrote about how her letters had been his guiding stars, how her belief in him had given him strength. He told her that his love for her was as deep and constant as the river that gave their town its name. And then came the last paragraph. "If you are reading this," he wrote, "and it's the last letter you ever received from me, I want you to know this. My life was beautiful because you were in it. You filled it with color and light. Don't be sad for too long. Live your life to the fullest. Find joy in the small things. And whenever you miss me, just look at the moon. I'll be the star shining brightest next to it, watching over you. Always." Tears streamed down Clara's face, but they were not just tears of sorrow. They were tears of love, of gratitude. He had known. Somehow, he had known, and in his final moments, his thoughts had been of her, of comforting her, of giving her one last piece of his heart. This wasn't just a letter, it was his final gift. It was a permission slip to live, to allow again and to carry his memory not as a burden of grief, but as a beacon of love. It was the last letter from Riverbend, but its message was eternal. Clara stayed in Riverbend for a while. She finished the rocking chair Elias had started, sanding the wood until it was smooth, her touch a final caress. She took it back with her to the city. Years later, an elderly Clara would sit in that rocking chair on her balcony. She would look at the moon and smile, a quiet conversation with the brightest star in the sky. The box of letters sat by her side, a testament to a love that distance could not diminish and death could not end. The story of Elias and Clara reminds us that true love isn't about grand gestures, but about the quiet, consistent acts of devotion, the words whispered across miles, and a connection that can echo through a lifetime and even beyond. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories that explore the depths of human connection. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time.